Autonomous and electric drive, that is the future of the car. Microelectronics is at its core. You may ask, and many people say, more electronic, more bits and pieces in the car which can fail? It's a fair question. And at the beginning of this century, it was a joke that the people said, at each traffic light, you should reboot your car because the software is not so reliable. But it has changed. Think back many years, and when I was a young boy, we were driving into holidays, and you saw a lot of cars standing at the sideline with an open hood, and they had been broken down. You don't see this anymore. Microelectronics has contributed significantly to the reliability and function of the car. As the automotive, the mobility is moving and advancing, and by the way, everybody of us, and I see it, is wanting to have individual mobility capabilities. The expectations are rising as we offer more and more new features. And when you look at what is out there, what's already happening, and what the fascination of the people is, then the people expect that their car is a car they can 100% trust in. Trust means if you have a thinking of an autonomous drive, of an electric drive, the car works by any means, from the first minute until you bring it back to the dealership at the end of its life. And of course, that you can depend on. People do not look anymore only for technology or horsepower. They look for, and I think this is something which we see more and more in the usability. And the other part is, of course, this you only can do when you have a technology in the car which is dependable. Dependable means two things. First of all, it works as desired. And when you think about software in general, we accept a lot of, I would say, special behaviors, let's call it. And we say we will correct it. But for the car, that is not acceptable. We expect for the car that it is nearly as dependable as a plane at the cost which consumer can afford. And therefore, we need a technology which can, at reasonable cost, deliver this. This is driving our company. We are on a mission to provide technology in a way that it is high performance, competitive cost, but 100% dependable. And I think here, this is one side. This is why we are engineers. But there is more than that mission. We are about to think about what is the people needing? What is today important? Eco-friendliness. Our company for many years is clearly driven by the idea how can we reduce CO2 production by the car, providing superior driving experience. Now with electromobility, with autonomous drive, more of this comes. The next point, which is of high importance, is the ease of use. We got used to what we are now trained nearly with a mobile phone. Who of you opens the handbook of a car when you get a new car? Most likely no. You even want that the car hints to you, maybe this is something you might require for the moment, or even more simple. The next point, of course, is flexibility and autonomy. We just heard about for the trucks. I personally like very much the radar function which protects me against, even so I'm for some seconds distracted to run into the end of a traffic jam, and more of this to come. Maybe in 15 to 20 years I will, when being elderly, and say, okay, car, please come. Maybe I even don't own it. All of this is around safety and comfort additionally. So I think here, this topic of what are of the essence behind that, and I would say even more in kind of slogans, what it is about. We do not talk about semiconductor when we think about our company. We talk about how can we reduce CO2. We even have the slogan, zero CO2 emissions becomes real. Zero CO2 is something where we can contribute and are fascinated by. Without semiconductors, without electronics, no way there. Would you have assumed 5 or 10 years ago, or even 5, that we would accelerate where we are today? That cars can go more than 500 kilometers range with one battery charge? I don't think so. And similar developments we can expect. I expect my electric car, when I go to the charging station, it communicates with the supply company, looks for the best tariff. Maybe next generation it even can charge wireless. But more than that, a driver becomes a passenger. It doesn't need my 100% attention. And maybe sooner or later, it doesn't need my attention at all. And a smarter car, think about the car saying, I need now a maintenance. And anyhow, an electric car doesn't need most likely so much maintenance anymore. So no more car at the sideline of the highway. And the next is really, from my point, a very important element. This mobility as a service. Maybe we cannot park in the inner of the city, but maybe my car parks a little bit outside, and when I want, I say in 10 minutes I want to leave, car comes and picks me up. Or some car picks me up. That requires a lot. It requires definitely a very smart car to do that job. Finds its own way, can charge itself. So the question is how to. It's quite interesting. We very often compare the car to a mainframe with something, computer on wheels. This would not at all do the job. When you have a breakdown in your computer system, you may divert to another one. You can't do that in the car. If you think about what I talked at the beginning, that you have to reboot your car every now and then, impossible. The electronic of a car, the software, becomes so complex, we have to go new ways. We have to go new ways because of several reasons. First of all, the software, but also the hardware. We want to have a high reliability. High reliability means that you have an electronic structure in your car which is easy to handle. You know, engineers? An engineer says, a good construction looks simple, like a painting. And here you see the painting of the car of the future. You will have main CPU, main computer. You will have major satellites in the areas around, which of course will also reduce a lot of the wiring and. You will have smart devices. The brake will still be a smart brake to take care, whatever breaks down, I can brake. So all of these will come. It is a quite complex system. We need communication between these major elements. In order to have an autonomous car, you need to communicate to the infrastructure, to the other cars. And you have to do this in a very safe manner when you think about hacking. So you see, and this is something to come. First, cars are looking like this, and we will see a significant evolution moving there, which of course makes it more simple to design a car, but it also means that we have completely different to think about how to. Today's, and I do not want to be critical, the electronics in the car is assembly of bits and pieces which are connected. A new car is a total thought infrastructure. And a total thought infrastructure needs more than only computing. Think about a computer losing power. A brain which is stopping to think. We cannot allow that. We have to have highly reliable communications capability. We have highly redundant, and again, we cannot afford 3 computers negotiating who is right and who is wrong. We need built-in reliable. We have to design for 100% functional trustworthiness. If I fail as a device, I tell the guy at my sideline, I say, I'm out of control. And the other has to take over. How to design this is a huge differentiating element moving forward. But this also requires that you think about how you design the power of your car, how you think about which bits and pieces needs power by any means. You might not need power for your aircon, but you definitely need power for the main computer, for the satellite computer who are doing until you are safe, or maybe you can even continue to ride on autonomously, who can help you doing this and supplying the power. So the car of the future will be completely different than the car of today. We have to re-engineer it, and we see a lot of this on the way. And it will also change a lot of the supply chain moving forward. The bits and pieces, and I do not go into the details, you need the sensors. A car being able to recognize its environment. We expect, by the way, from the car, from the assisting and the autonomous car, higher performance than from human being. We will never accept that there is a certain mistake. Therefore, all of these bits and pieces have to play together, and we have to think as semiconductor industry about what is needed tomorrow. How can a car better understand where it's going to? How can I make more miles out of the same battery? How can I recoup energy? How can I charge the battery faster without losing battery overall lifetime? How can I be connected? All of these will bring a lot of changes. I believe when we would have still stick with the old combustion engine, we would not have been changing as we are today. New car companies coming up at the speed of today. New mobility players will come. New people will design cars. I do not want to say an electric car is more simple to design, but I think a bit of a piece of the entry hurdle is gone. The differentiation, and even so it's not obvious, will be by electronics. Many people say 90%. I think that is not a wrong value. Of course, the design matters, but the argument on range, performance, reliability is with the electronics inside. We will not think about single components anymore. We will have to think about the total system, first order car as a system, and then the car within. We at the company for semiconductors will not anymore think about a single device. We have to think about how will the infrastructure for power supply will be designed tomorrow? What does it need? How will be the electric drivetrain? How can we get more miles out of it? What are the devices and technologies to come? All of these is something we have to think ahead, and we have to understand. And we feel that it is extremely fascinating to do so, and we as Infineon are on the mission to provide a climate-friendly car. Individual mobility as the people want to have it and like it. And with this, I want to conclude and say, it's fascinating what is coming. We are up here to do it. Thank you very much.